All right, guys, I was surfing around on eBay a while back, exactly 12 weeks ago. That's how long it took for this to get here. Found this little guy. I did Google Translate on here, but I don't think there's enough contrast. It gave me the model number, and it said made in Russia, but for some reason, nothing else on here translated. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to call this the turtle lock. Nice rounded shell. There's his head. Kind of reminds me of a turtle, but you know, I guess that's a design feature. This is actually a puck lock. It's a design feature. Solid steel, 3 pounds, 1.4 kilograms. So very, very hefty, very solid lock. If you try to hit this with a hammer, you're going to get a glancing blow. You try to shoot it, you're going to get a ricochet. I mean, that's really, I think, an excellent design for a puck lock to resist a physical attack. So at least they thought that through. Beneath here, obviously a very wide chamber for you to put the shackle or your hasp. If you're locking this onto a door, it would be flush with the door. There's no way you're going to be able to get underneath it. That's the design. If it's on a toolbox, you know, and this is the toolbox itself, fit it onto the locking shackle or the locking hasp, and you'd have to find some way to pick this guy going in from the side. Not a lot of room. So again, really well thought out. Also, if you take a look at this, the way that this is assembled, the lock is installed into this chamber. And then this really thick, again, solid steel plug is put in after it and then permanently pinned in place on the back. You can't, obviously that's the back, you can't drill that. And there's no way to drill it from this side either. That really does armor up the lock, but it makes it really difficult to pick as well, because now that lock is buried in there about a ½ an inch. So you got to have a really long tensioner and some extended picks as well. The only disappointment on this is the key or the type of lock they chose. I have bought locks from this company before, and I didn't show the key for this guy, but I thought it would be the same as all the other locks. I mean, it's got the same finish, crinkle finish, the same machining on the bolt. But all of these came with the Half Moon Abloy style. Really difficult, takes a specialized pick. These are really actually really good locks. I just assumed he would have it too, and it was quite a surprise to pull this out. If you take a look at the cuts on here, some of them have 3, some of them have 4, it looks like. So I guess somewhere between 12 and 16 pins inside of this guy. When you look at the side of it, you see a little dimple. And on the key, you see a cutout right there. You line up that cutout with the dimple because the key only goes in one way. You slide it in. I moved that spinner disc, so now I got to kind of realign him. Spin him around. Now we got it all the way in. You rotate it 90 degrees, and the bolt comes all the way out. So kind of a cool feature there. It also lets us look inside of there. When we look, I'm going to grab a flashlight and try to do this one-handed. There's the hole, and then when I rotate the key, you can see that solid steel tailpiece of the lock rotating back and forth. It's really thick. It's thicker than 1/8 of an inch, and it really buries up almost the entire depth of this locking bolt. So my first thought was, when this thing is locked, and I'm going to push this all the way in, that's all the way in. Now I'm going to unlock it. My first thought was to slam this with a hammer, and maybe I could shear something on the inside, but they only cut that deep enough to accommodate this bolt. There is a little play, so I'm going to lock it back up. There's a little bit of play, so I suppose you could hook up something here and try to rip this out. I just don't think there's enough room to tear the locking mechanism out through that little crevice. More likely is you'd probably break the bolt right about there. That would take a lot of energy. This is 1/4 of an inch. So I just don't think that's a realistic attack. Instead, I think, like a lot of our locks, picking is probably the most vulnerable way to get into this thing. So I started getting a windshield wiper insert, trying to get in there, and I realized that I had a tool designed for these locks. So I dug through my bag, and I haven't seen these for years, but I bought these somewhere on eBay, one of the discount, Alibaba, something like that, I can't remember. And these come as a, let me move from here. These come as a set. They're different size for really small locks and medium size. There's a tiny one right there. You got some, again, medium ones here. That's probably too big. Again, that's really too big. I may not have one. Let's use this guy. All right. What we have are 4 little prongs that stick out and tension. They fit into the grooves, and that allows you to use this little wheel to tension the lock. This is a depth setter, so I'm going to move them down a little bit, probably to right about there. I don't want to go too deep in the lock. And then once we get them inserted, this little plunger, we slide this dude in, and you notice how they spread, how they spread out, and it's a rake. We just move it back and forth while applying tension, and usually these are pretty easy to defeat. So let me retract the rake, and now I'm just going to slide this in there. Yeah, I think the designers knew about this. The shaft is too thick to go all the way down in there. It's really... All right, wait a minute. No problem. Let's try this. Now it ought to work. Now I'll just set the depth manually. So let's try, see if that works. So slide them in. The spinner plate. There we go. I'm tensioning it now. I'm going to retract it just a little bit. I don't want to do it too deep. And now I'm going to slide the plunger in and make sure it's locked. It is locked. Okay. Now once you got it in there, apply a little bit of tension, keep it light, just like raking any other pin tumbler lock. And that's all this is pin tumbler. And turn it. And there you go. Yeah. I don't know why they did that. This would have been such a great lock if they had put one of these little abloy cores in it. But to put that junky lock in there, use a little cross lock that's so vulnerable to these well-known tools. In fact, I haven't been able to use these for so long. I mean, they're just not used anymore. To put that junky lock in here really makes it not worth $80 plus $23 shipping and 12 weeks of the wait. Goodness gracious. Anyway, there you go, guys. The turtle lock out of Russia. I'd say until they replace that core, probably not a great choice. Anyway, guys, appreciate your time. Stay safe. Stay legal.